Hello and welcome in to Sorare with Laird. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdino on Sorare. Talking today about champion in-season rare and whether or not it's been a success so far. I'm not quite sure yet because I ran through the numbers and I'm going to let you guys decide if it's successful or not. I will give away one thing that in terms of cash rewards that I have won, the cash rewards I've won totals less than what I spent. But as we know with Sorare, there's always a little more to it than that. Before I keep going, today's show is sponsored by MFL. I know a lot of you have heard me talk about MFL, which is the Metaverse Football League. For those of you who haven't, it is a football manager game that I have been playing for the last few weeks. I absolutely love it. It is a ton of fun. It is not fantasy football. It is not the same as Sorare and just something else. It is, like I said, a football management game played in the metaverse, whatever that means. And yeah, I've had a ton of fun. If you're interested in joining, I've done a bunch of videos over on a separate YouTube channel called MFL with Laird. Go check that out. If you're ready to sign up, I have a referral link in the description of this video that will get you a free common player after you spend at least $25 in the store. Simple as that. Helps benefit me as well. Full disclosure and all that. But anyway, thank you to MFL for sponsoring this show as we talk about making money and maybe spending it over on MFL. Who knows? Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Yorkie Will, Wunth, love that. Mikey Basson and Anyon on the podium. Congratulations to you three. Ryan Walter, what's up? We've got some questions coming in, which I'll get back to once I say hi to everyone. Stefan, what's up? Mikkel, hello. Carrie, Ozzy watched a bunch of streams on replay lately, finally catching one live just after midnight. Way to be. Thank you very much for catching all those and for being here live and for doing it after midnight and for checking in the chat. Love it. Love it. Shezzy, what's up? Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Anyon said, I can't wait for this summer. This game week really pissed me off. Getting 55th out of 10,000 entries for $5. This is insane. It's the top 0.5% lineup rant over. What contest is up to 10,000 entries now? I mean, I assume it's some sort of limited one, but anyway. Ryan Walter says, serious question. If Champion 2025-26 reflects MLS and has a podium or nothing kind of prize pool with a streak bonus, how would it impact your 2025-26 strategy? Good question. We'll get into that as I go through it, because I think that is a big part of it. Mikey Basson, hit that like button like Tyson hits opponents, hard and fast. Love it. Love it. Ratcheton from X. Hello. Hello. That's not a name I'm familiar with. Anyway. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming in. So just to warn everyone, this is going to be either good or bad for you. It's going to be spreadsheet season here on the show. And I know some of you are not huge fans of spreadsheet content. I find it extremely boring, but sometimes you just got to do the boring stuff in order to get your point across about the exciting stuff. So I'm not going to do that straight away because I feel like 4 minutes in is very quick to be like, hey, here's a spreadsheet. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to go and at least talk about my champion strategy a little bit, because I've talked about it before, but for those of you who haven't heard it, sorry, I'm just trying to pull my cards up here. But it all started basically in October. And I tend not to, I wasn't playing Champion at all. I had a small Everton collection that I put together because I won a Dwight McNeil card a long time ago. I've always been a big McNeil guy. And I wanted to be able to use McNeil. And now that I can't, I basically wasn't going to be able to really use him in All-Star anymore. I mean, I could, but it just didn't seem optimal. I was like, oh, let me just get a couple champ guys and work around that. This is the card that I won a while ago. I mean, you can see it's already level 10. And I really haven't won much from it at all. Oh, that's not true. Oh, well, a bunch of Cap 240s. Yeah. U23 rare. That's how long I've had it. Apparently I won a Chris Brady. How about that? Callum Hudson-Odoi. This card's been awesome. What do you know? Anyway, so before this season, I picked up a few other pieces, including this James Garner jersey mint And then I think I got this Mikalenko, Onana, and Ganagay all in the same deal, basically just to like get McNeil up to 2%. It wasn't really to run these players much, although if I had them, then it's fine. But that wasn't really the point. The point was to just be able to play McNeil with someone. And then I didn't buy Jordan Pickford because he was pretty expensive, but I did buy Bern Leno because at the time he was, reasonably priced. I don't even remember what I paid for it. $180. This was probably at the beginning of the season. Does this show up here? So it was right here. Classic card. It's the Germany shirt, which is kind of cool. I have a Jonas Hoffman 1 of 100 that's from this collection. So I actually think that one was on. Is that on 1%? Yeah. Here are the 2 cards I have. And so the idea was, let me run. I don't know why this one's popping up. Let me just run Leno and some other random Prem guys that I had and play Prem. But then it wasn't until October where I won a Marko Dimitrovic in an international nights competition that I was like, maybe I'll play champ in season. And Dimitrovic is a card or is a player who I've actually owned twice already on this platform. I bought once when he went to Sevilla thinking he might start there, and then he didn't. And for some reason I bought another one at one point, or maybe I won another one, but I had sold them and I was like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. He always gets rotated, it feels like, and you never know when. And then I won him and I was like, I just can't get away from this guy. And so I decided to say like, oh, maybe I'll see if I can kind of cheaply play champ rare in season. I didn't want to buy a stack necessarily. I didn't want to try to, get a bunch of Bayern players to play in champ. And so I was like, maybe I can get some cheap set piece takers. And I had a few classic champ guys that I bought either when they were playing in another competition, like my Juni Ito that I got just before he went to France. I had a Turkey for years that I was always going to play in U23 and then just never really built U23 out. So I had a couple random classic champ cards that I could play with these guys. But my idea was very similar to what I did with Challenger, which failed spectacularly, was let me find some cheap set piece takers and see if that can get me as far as it can get me. And so Dimitrovic started it. And then the first card I got was Gaetan Perrin from Auxerre, who I got from Basilbot back in October for this Philippe Sander and $5, which this card really worked out because Perrin has been just an absolute beast this season. For a player who plays for Auxerre, it's not bad. And so I got Perrin and kind of was trying to figure out where else to go. And then I won Nuno Tavares, who I had also previously won, but I won Nuno Tavares from, I'm trying to look here, 29th place in Champ Classic D3. That's where I won it. This is, I don't even know what lineup this, could it have been the Everton guys? This is, game week 19. That was Prem, so it's got to be, here we go. Oh my God, look at this lineup. That is gorgeous. Steve Mandanda still starting for Rennes. Nayef Agard from Real Sociedad. Andy Diouf from Lens. Romain Del Castillo in a revenge game against Rennes. So these obviously are from my Rennes collection. And then this Juni Ito. So that won me Nuno Tavares, who at the time was on like the hottest of hot streaks. Let me pull him up. Let's see. Like he was in this, I think, actually, I guess it would have been around here. Yeah, right about here. He had just come off like 100, and I was like, man, this guy's pretty good. And I remember Harry Trade saying, you absolutely have to sell that card. He's not any good. Sell that card. And he kept getting these like fairly good scores. And I was like, are you sure about that, Harry? And then I decided to play Tavares in a lineup. Let's see. I'm trying to think of who else was in this. I'm pulling it up here. I keep pulling. Hold on. Game week 21 is when I used this Nuno Tavares. So it was this game week. I feel like they always. Here we go. So I put this lineup together. I also bought a Zurico Davidashvili from Saint Etienne, and I was on my way. And so I put this lineup together. Dimitrovic, Tavares, Amadou Onana, Davidashvili, and Perrin. And this lineup won me $70. And I thought to myself, I am so good at this game that I'm going to just dominate champ this year with these guys. And funny enough, I could have played so many other guys than Onana, and Aston Villa home against Bournemouth, and I was like, this is going to be great. And he was absolutely horrible. But everybody else with at least one decisive. So with this, I was like well on my way. Now, looking back, this is 2 rewards. This Onana I got for close to nothing. Perrin, which I got close for, for $5 on a reward, and Davidashvili, who let's see, 46. It was this one. I spent $35 on. I actually spent quite a lot on this. So this is the spreadsheet. Apologies for those who are not into the spreadsheet content. But so, and this is where I just started tracking it. I bought a Teddy Tuma because I love Teddy Tuma. I bought a Vincent Sierro. I bought Wabi Kazri at one point because I thought he would get set pieces when Teji Savigny was suspended. He did get set pieces, and he scored like 30 points. I crafted a Luis Diaz, and this is where I'm starting to look for your advice, guys, because I don't know whether to count rewards as part of my success for the season in terms of in-season competitions, because I just not sure yet. But anyway, so like the Diaz was a crafted card. Obviously, I was not only winning Champ Essence, and frankly, I may not have even gotten it with Champ Essence. It might have been the neutral essence that got me this Luis Diaz back in November. But I sold that one for $100. Never used it. Carrie said, surely sold cards should count. So I think that as well, Carrie, the only thing that throws me off about it is I'm winning. Some of the cards that I won were because of classic comps. So this Nuno Tavares, for example, I won in classic. It's not because of cards that I played in season. So I feel like if I'm going to use that as yes, I made this year in champ, shouldn't I also account for what I paid for these cards? And that's where it starts. I don't know why it keeps doing this. So like the Ren collection, do I consider those as part of like what I spent for this season? And then I won a Jacob. Actually, that might have been that same game week. This backup goalie from Leicester who ended up starting once. I got with Leno, Mikolenko, McNeil, and Onana from that mini Everton collection, and then Christian Eriksen, who I won. Like this got me that a box also, so I got XP. We'll get into that in a second. But I don't know. We'll see. So I bought those guys. Christopher O'Perry was taking set pieces for Le Havre, and I got for $3.90 thanks to a market credit. This card ended up being a total. Well, we'll get into it. He ended up transferring to Turkey, smashed his face off in 2 games when I didn't play him, and then he started to play again. But anyway, I ended up buying another Davidashvili. I can't remember why. I bought a Teji Savigny. I bought 2 Tejis on the same day. I sent an offer out on one before I went to sleep and put a bid on an auction before I went to sleep, expecting the auction to go much higher than my offer out. And then of course I won the auction and had my offer accepted. And then of course I won Teji Savigny again a couple weeks later, which is just awesome. Speaking of winning, Jono, what's up? Thanks for coming in. So I appreciate that you guys say that these rewards should count. So we'll get into that because it's one of those things that I'm going to end up using it to justify what I did. But anyway, I then decided. So basically what I was trying to do was use that Burn Leno classic card and then try to use 4 in-season outfielders to play champ in season. And the problem is that I won in game week 21 and I was like, all right, I'm really good at this. I should buy more cards. And so I decided to I decided my strategy was going to be to focus on guys in Serie A and Ligue 1. And the reason I was doing that is because while you could probably make the argument that a player from the Prem or La Liga or Bundesliga was almost a bit of a differential because they have their own, their own league competitions that they could be in. But I kind of felt like the Serie A and Ligue 1 guys were almost overlooked, and price wise, and they were probably cheaper because you could only play them in Champ. They didn't have utility in the other competitions. But I just like the idea of having other options, which is kind of like how I play Contender, where I look at regions that I feel like are mostly ignored, meaning the non-European ones. I feel like Mexico and Argentina tend to be overlooked, and so I get those players to play against the European guys. And it just felt like with Champ, Italy and France kind of fit that mold. And the reason why I chose Champ instead of Prem and instead of Bundesliga and instead of La Liga is I just like more options. I like the idea that if you don't have, the one or two guys that smashed, there are plenty of other guys who could possibly make up for it. And so I went with a Napoli stack. I wanted to get Alex Merritt, and I went back and forth with basically the four Napoli defenders who were the four at the time of Giovanni Di Lorenzo, Amir Rahmani, Buongiorno, and then Matthias Oliveira, who plays left back. So I hate to admit this because it's so unbelievably stupid, but I bought Merritt and wanted, I think he had a good matchup the game week I bought him. So this was coming out of an international break. And Oliveira was flying back from Uruguay, and I wasn't sure if he was going to play the game that weekend. And so I basically made a decision that I should have been considering for the entire season. And I was making sure that I had some coverage that weekend. And Buongiorno was actually a very good scorer. They were all kind of good scorers, so it's not like there was a bad choice. Di Lorenzo was probably the worst, but Buongiorno is very good and has excellent AA. And so I decided to go with Buongiorno, knowing he was going to play coming out of the international break. And Oliveira, I wasn't sure. Oliveira ended up playing and scored exceptionally well. Let me see here. Coming out of the break. Yeah, November. So Oliveira had 62. I guess Buongiorno was fine. And of course, Di Lorenzo banged 100 that game. But it was like, this is what I was going for. Basically a Napoli defensive stack. Oops, sorry. A Napoli defensive stack. And I was not quite sure where I was going after that. And I had Cherky as a forward. I had a couple other guys. And there were basically two players that I was staring at. Andre Santos from Strasbourg, who's on loan from Chelsea, and Jude Bellingham. And I realized these are very different players. And the price of an in-season Jude was just so high that it was really not ever an actual consideration. And Santos, I think, who was U23 for a couple years, he's excellent, genuinely excellent. Like his scores from this season are absurd. Like his lowest score is 40, but he's had 11, 12 games of 70 or above in 32 starts. He's just very consistent. And so I went with Santos after I got a bunch of collection pieces for Napoli. So like I got Merritt and Buongiorno. This Cyril Gange is a special edition card. Rafa Marin and Nikita Contini I got in a trade with Sutonio. They were still wrapped at the time, so they could have been special editions, which I was excited about. I did end up getting a Giovanni Di Lorenzo jersey mint from Sir Hiss in exchange for a bunch of stuff. And I apologize if I've gone through this before on stream, and I apologize if for those of you who heard this and have memorized it, but I'm going to go through it anyway. I was then able to I basically traded for Rafa Marin and Nikita Contini jersey mints to work on my Napoli collection, because I was like, I wasn't going to go to 5% on Napoli, but I did kind of like the idea of, if these guys are going to be important to me, I should be able to get as many points as possible. So they're at 3%. I'm 100, basically 4 cards. I'm probably $12 away from a from 4%. I should probably do that. Let's see. Nope, instant buy. Napoli rare. What are the cheapest Napoli? Yes, they're like 6. So I have Contini already, so I don't need him. Mazzocchi jersey mint was on the market at some point, I remember, for way too much. So I would have to get Mazzocchi, Simeone, Luis Hassa. I already have Jesus and Lobotka. So that's what, 8, 14, 20. Yeah. So like $27 for an extra 1%. That doesn't really seem worth it right now. But anyway, so I got those guys at the time, got Santos, won another Teji. This is the beginning of December. And then I bought a Julio Enciso, I think on stream with Harry Trades because he was getting his move. And we thought, yeah, that would work out. Spoiler, it didn't. But then I started getting some other Strasbourg pieces because I thought Santos was going to be really important for me. So I got a few of those. I got this Juan Jesus, 1 of 100. And then Buongiorno got hurt and Jesus took over. So I was able to play to get that. And then in December, I had enough in-season cards and I was like, I just don't have that smasher. Andre Santos is great, but I was like, I really wanted Jude Bellingham. And Bellingham at the time was around $450, maybe 500. And I was going back and forth. I had actually gotten a Rodrigo and a Luka Modric from last year's collection. And I was like, I wanted Jude from that year. And eventually I was like, I just can't justify. I wasn't sure I could win the extra $400 in Champ this year. This is for a classic Jude. And so I ended up getting Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who has been hurt more often than anything else. And he's such a good scorer when he plays, but man, he just plays so sparingly and it's so tilting. And so big regrets on that one. I then got a David Neres because he was going to start after Kavicha left. I never got a Kvaratskhelia. I probably should have, but he just wasn't like a great scorer for Napoli. And then when he went to PSG, it was like, do I really want that? Turns out I absolutely should have gotten that card. Like I totally blew it not getting one. Yeah, I'm trying to look. Let's see price-wise. Where did he go? No, I guess he didn't really change that much. This was like November, December. But I'll have to get, like I should get one. 220, man. I don't know. We'll see. Crazy how fast this season has gone. For real. Anyway, so I also got a little cute with this Sebastian Esposito. He was taking set pieces for Empoli. They had like a good run up. And then I decided to quadruple down on my mistake by getting a few. This is a jerseyman of Emmanuel E. Kong. And I got these other two guys. They're 1 of 100s to try to get that Esposito card up. Turns out Sebastiano Esposito is not the Esposito brother you want. And getting extra 2% on that card is really not helpful at all. Where is he? Yeah, like 2%. Granted, it's 4 cards. What did I spend for those? Cash, $10, but that Esposito card, I guess I've won two rewards with him. Oh, I guess I've barely profited. Anyway, I then right after the new year, I got a bunch of more Strasbourg cards because I just started to like them. And then I've just added, I really haven't bought much since until this past week or last week, excuse me, when I added 4 more Strasbourg cards in order to get to 5%. So I actually have a 5% Strasbourg collection without any of the cards that you want other than Santos, which is kind of a bummer. But like, so I have all these guys. I don't have a Petrovic. I don't have a Risser, and I don't have. Sorry, I think there was 4 cards I wanted: Petrovic, Risser, Barco, and Harry's guy that he just won. Diego Moreira. Didn't get those. Oh, and Nanasi I tried to get a bunch of times, and just price-wise, it never worked out. I just didn't feel like it was worth it, to be honest. He was like $60, and I was like, I just don't know how much it's going to work. And so I made also a gigantic mistake in early January, and I was like, I should get another class or in-season goalie. And I was choosing between Ivan Provedel and David De Gea. And Provedel was slightly cheaper. De Gea actually got really cheap at one point, and I should have gotten De Gea. Like looking back, I guess he's cheap now. Did he stop starting? Or he's just been terrible? Yeah, so I didn't buy him, and then he kind of went on this little run. I guess he's been fine, but Providel's been benched, and so at least De Gea still plays, which is more than Providels can say. And so I spent $100 on 99.91 on Providel, and it's just not. It didn't work out. Didn't work it out. And then I randomly bought this Mathis Omogu. I don't know. It was a Saint Etienne jersey mint. He's a Chelsea loanee. He actually went back to Chelsea. I think that was the case. And I was like, oh, the Saint Etienne jersey mint will help Davidashvili. And I actually bought another one, Florian Tardieu. I bought him for $1.69. That was another jersey mint. And the only reason why I was a bit attached to this Saint Etienne collection is I like Davidashvili, and I also had Lucas Stassen, who I bought previously for my Westerlo collection. I thought he was going to be excellent for Westerlo this year. Spent $100 or something like this on this Stassen card, and almost immediately he transferred to Saint Etienne, and now I have it. So I have these four guys. Tardieu is on the older side, he's 32, but so I got this jersey mint, and he ended up taking set pieces at some point. Decent, he's a decent scorer. But yeah, I mean, I got that card for $1.69, and then this Amogu, sorry if I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, I was the only bid on that card, literally the only one. So that's everything that I spent for in season for Champ. Totals $1,270. Now, the most expensive cards were Santos at 186, Merritt at 177, Çalhanoğlu at 148, and that was a classic card. That's an AC Milan card. And Buongiorno 146. Buongiorno got hurt very soon after I got him, and his price absolutely tanked. Now you kind of expect prices to fall, but his, like, you can see, I'm not the top dot, but I instant bought that card and was super excited about it. 147, and then somebody got an instant buy for 37. Yeah, basically $100 cheaper now, $110. Which is just bad luck. Yeah. And then Providel at 100, and then everyone else, like Di Lorenzo at 40. This was a jersey mint. I might have actually traded a bunch of cards on this one too. Yeah, it was like $40, and then these were all rewards except this Sierra card, which I spent $3 on. So I basically, I just, for this number, for those of you curious, this number is just cash out that I, like cash that came out of my wallet, because I think that's what's important. But then you can see here, like, I bought a Bakwa. He was part of the Strasbourg collection for just under $40. Gator guy won it, and I bought it from him. Davidashvili, I bought two of and then sold one. So I bought this one for $35.61. And one day was like, I don't really need two of these. I think it was actually over an international break, and I sold it for 55, which is why in this column, you can see some of the cards I sold. And if, for those of you wondering, this 1/5 of a reward, this is literally, I basically just take the total amount that all of the lineups that Andre Santos was in that won. So that was $370 total that he's been in lineups. Like they've won a total of 370. And I just take 1/5 of that because he's 1/5 of the lineup. And so I basically put it as he's accounted for $74 of rewards. Now, I know some people prefer to use how many points he scored in the lineup, and he gets, if he scored 40% of the points, then he accounts for 40% of the amount won. The reason so Kai Kusje is saying this, 1/5 is not accurate enough. Player is only responsible for a certain percentage of points, and so of the reward. So I'm going to respectfully disagree that the reason I pick 1/5 is because the only thing that I myself have control over is whether I put a card in a lineup. I have absolutely no control over how many points that player scores. And so whether Santos scored 100 or 0, the only thing I can control is that he was in a lineup. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but it makes for me, looking at something like this and saying, like, looking at my process and did I do the right things in order to to profit as much as I could over from these cards over the course of a season, I don't have any control over how many points they score. And so I just don't. I'm much more comfortable with this 1/5 of reward. I also think that looking at ROI on a card by card basis isn't really that necessary. It really should just be the total. But you do, in order to get the total, you have to do the individual ones. So the way I'm looking at it, Andre Santos cost me $186. He's won the equivalent of $74 in rewards. So I'm down $112. 74 plus 112 is 186. That's how I'm accounting for it. And again, you don't have to do it this way. I think this is the one that makes the most sense in terms of trying to get an idea of whether what I am doing in the game is helping win or not. So there were a few cards that I bought and sold. This Davidashvili is one of them. I bought a Guella Due as part of the Strasbourg collection months ago. What is that? At the end of October, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a little Strasbourg collection. But it wasn't until I really went into the Strasbourg collection that I bought another Due, because I bought this one from the primary market because it would give me more collection bonus. So then I sold the one that I got. Now, I almost don't believe that I made that much money on Due. Okay, so I traded these three rewards: Kevin Vogt rare, Abdurrahmane Barry limited, and James Wilson limited, plus $8.38. That's why it shows there for this Due. That was from Satonio, and then I sold this Due later to Arwak for $33. I'm guessing he had some sort of good. I don't know why. That's the one I bought. When did I sell it? Oh, Octo, it's too far. I don't know why Due went on a run, but I sold into it because I felt like it, I guess. So yeah, so I made $33. Yeah, $33, or sold it for $33. So I made $24. Never won anything with it. And then I did the same thing with Pape Diongue. I bought one from the secondary market because it was a rookie card, and I was like, oh, that gets credit. But then I bought a rookie card from the primary market because it got more collection bonus, and that's why I sold that one. Mike said, as long as you're not using a particular method over another to inflate your results, and I see no problem with whatever is chosen. Yeah, I think the only way theoretically, the totals should be the same regardless of what you do, because it's how much you won versus, on a total basis. So, that's that. And then basically every other card I bought was a collection piece, genuinely. And then these are, some of the rewards I won, I sold. So I eventually sold that Dimitrovic. I sold the Nuno Tavares. I sold this Jacob Stolarczyk, and the Luis Diaz. And I also sold a Marouane Sanade for $24. And so I added these three at the bottom: Cherky, Leno, and Stassen. Stassen, I could theoretically include it, but I feel weird including it as part of my champ buys because I had no intention of using him in champ when I bought it. And I use it so sparingly anyway, but I don't know. We'll see. And then this is the Cherky that I got back in May of 2023, like literally 2 years ago, I got that card. And so it feels weird to count this $272 I spent in May of 2023 for now, but I don't know. We'll see. And then the 180 I spent last August for Leno, again, wasn't within season in mind. So what I've done since then, and let me make this a little easier, at least to scroll. There we go. Is I went through each game week and, I didn't want to do that. Let's do it to here. There we go. I went through each game week and looked at when I won. This number seems wrong now. I feel like I'm missing something here. S. I don't know. Maybe we'll just total it together. Anyway, so you'll see this is the 1,270 I spent on the in-season stuff. And I just went game week to game week looking at how much I won. And so you'll see I don't win a lot. Like I started in game week 21. That was the Dimitrovic, Davidashvili, Perrin lineup. And then I started winning in game week 39. So Merit, I bought November 20th. And this lineup was not until the end of December that I finally won my first champ reward. I finished 12th in Division One. Merit, Di Lorenzo, Juan Jesus. So Buongiorno was out. There's Esposito, the boy, and Çalhanoğlu, captain. So I won a 5-star box, which to this, who knows what was in it. You can't even find it these days. And $120. And so I basically was just like, all right. So I accounted for $120 for the 5 guys that I had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And I just went through every single game week, and it's a real pain in the butt. And I'm working on something that makes it so that it's much easier to do this, that hopefully I can update you guys on in a couple weeks. Anyway, so you see here in game week 39, I won $120. In game week 43, which I won 80. Game week 60, I actually placed 2 lineups for a total of $80. Game week 62, I won $50. Game week 66, I won 40. Game week 70, I won 150. And game week 74, I won 80. And again, so basically this is how I do it. And so like this Gaetan Perrin, I spent $5 on. He's helped me win $140. 1/5 of 140 is 28. And so I count that as a $22 like profit on Perrin. And in classic Sorare terms, I still own all these cards. And so if I sold them all, like, hey, now I'm winning, right? Let me see if I can quickly, I don't know why it took that total out. This is like live spreadsheet doing on stream. This is like the cringiest content I've ever been a part of, but I'm just trying to get these numbers down for you. 80, 120, 70. So, Halligan said, I think cash rewards are bugged on server data, by the way. Shows a lot lower than it actually was. Might be an issue with currency conversion, but $300 shows as 170 euros or something silly. So I think server data uses ETH and then converts it. Now, I will say almost all of the rewards that I won, cash rewards, I took as ETH. I did not take as in dollars. And I definitely victory lapped that at some point because ETH was going up. Like ETH was up from when I won this stuff, and now it's down. So technically I have less fiat than I would have anyway. But I actually just went back on Sorare specifically to see the dollar amount. And so that's, even though I technically take most of it in ETH, but from my $1,270 in cost, I have $770 in cash rewards. And then if you take out like my profiting from cards that I sold, that's another $399.26. Like these are cards I bought and sold or won and sold. So $399.26. If we just add that here, 399.26. Cards sold. So I have those 2 numbers now. And so rewards plus sold is 1,169 versus 1,273. And I will say that I didn't include my results from this current game week, which include currently, I don't know if they're champ games today. Actually, this should probably tell me. MLS champion. Here we go. So I'm currently winning $50, although I believe if I fall out of the top, it's 130. 94%. All right. So there's still games today, but if this holds on, that's another 50. and I'm going to clinch that I don't win this now that I add that, but that's 1,219 versus 1,270 spend. Everybody says Forest play today, which I feel like there's got to be more than that in champ if it's 94%. Let's see. Who's left? Genoa and AC Milan, neither of whom have in-season cards, but obviously there are a few that are not. Palace, Forest, Girona, Mallorca. That's it. All right. So, if we stay, then that gets to 1,219, 26, spot 26, which is a $50 and 60, no, 73, 74 cent loss so far. However you want to. And, there are a couple games left. The season is winding down, but Milan has in season. Sorry. I didn't realize that. Did they really? Like their new João Felix cards? Yes. Yeah, there he is. So a weird João Felix rumor about him going to Flamengo. Or where was he before? Benfica? I can't remember. Anyway, Kuche said break even equals a good season, I think. I don't know if it does. I mean, obviously, all of these cards then become classics. And I actually don't mind that as much because I just don't have that many classic champ cards. Like for goalies, for next season, I really only have Merritt and Leno. Alamdar could be back, but who knows? Basically paid nothing to use these classic guys forever. I mean, $1,200 is not nothing for most people. It's not nothing for me. So yeah, maybe Providel goes somewhere else and starts. But in terms of the teams, like it's basically very similar to what I have now. It's going to be the Napoli guy, the Napoli defensive stack of Merritt, Buongiorno, Di Lorenzo. Buongiorno and Di Lorenzo play for Italy sporadically. Di Lorenzo much more. Oh, you're saying because I've won everything. Gotcha. So now I play classic free forever. Yeah. Gotcha. Thank you. I still have my Ren collection. Most of these guys still play in champ, like Truffert, Assignon, Bade, Agard, Douay. So, I'll have some of the Strasbourg guys in terms of defenders, and then midfielders, I'll have Santos and Çalhanoğlu, and then I have Kamavinga. I love Tchouaméni, also just these kind of older cards. Modric surely will still be around. 3 Teji Savaniers, which hopefully they have player loyalty, and I can play him in contender next year, although who knows if he'll stay. And then forwards, Turkey, I have this old Alvarez from River Plate. This is the Rodrigo card I was talking about before. Like, it's nothing dominant. There's Doku and Tell also from Ren. But it's like enough to keep playing champ. And I feel like on a week-to-week basis, they're not going to be uber competitive every game week. But, if I can get a few rewards here and there, like some of these lineups that I won, where were these guys? Like the lineup that I got, well, yeah, I mean, Teji I won in a flying goalie for Christ's sake. But like, anyway, Premier League D3, Champ D3, they're classic cards that I think they're good enough to win next year. And because I don't have a lot of champ cards right now, I'm much more comfortable with the whole situation. My challenger situation, I don't feel as great about because I have so many challenger cards already I'm just adding, next season, I'm just adding classic cards on top of classic cards. Same thing with contender. And Ricio said, make sure you add in the value of your time. Yeah, that's fair. My time's on Sorare, but it's like, I don't look at Sorare like time as cost. Like I'm choosing to spend my time on this. Jono said, if you win some rewards in the first few weeks, those guys will all be in profit. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair way to look at it. But I mean, it's funny because I know that a lot of people that play So Rare pretty much like exclusively play Champ or play Champ and the or Prem Bundesliga, whatever. And I'm kind of like, oh, this Champ thing is cool. Maybe we should do this. And but it's just not a way that I never really played Champ consistently or with much purpose until now. And I would even argue that I don't even do it that heavily right now. I I have one in-season goalie and I didn't go out of my way to get another one. But I think for next season, I'm going to look more to Champ than I will Challenger. I think I'm going to like one of the reasons I think I play Challenger in season next year is just because I have all these Challenger cards that it's almost it almost makes me feel like I'm overloaded in Challenger and Contender Classics that those three lineups will fill themselves quickly. And so the idea is if you buy in season cards, then there's three more lineups. But I do think I I think I'm going to play Champ more next year, and I'm going to do it with the same strategy of Serie A and Ligue 1. And I just pray that Andres Santos stays at Strasbourg, to be honest. Andres Santos is an awesome card. And he's U23 for another like 3 seasons. Mike said, let's not talk about worth in monetary terms. Was it fun? It was fun, Mike. And what's also kind of fun for me is I thought about instead of playing Champ Classic with some of these guys next year, do I play U23? And that's kind of the fun thing about it because, and I've talked about this before, it always felt very dumb to play U23 with Champ guys. But maybe it's just fun because I can do it. I don't have a Champ goalie. Do you think, can I actually put just Champ guys here? This is great. What a website this is. Sorare data. So next year, I actually have no idea. Well, let's see. Let's do till 2027, get in. So, I mean, you can play an entire Strasbourg U23 lineup right now. Like I'm fairly certain Nanasi is under 23. And then obviously Petrovic is the goalie. Petrovic is gone. Yeah, Nanasi has through next season. I don't have Nanasi, but like this is a pretty fun. Davidashvili, I think, has another couple seasons, doesn't he? Oh no, he doesn't. He runs out. All right, but I'm fairly certain. Let's see. The ages will be on the card: 20, 21, 21, and Cherky's still going. So if I get Petrovic and he becomes Chelsea's goalie next year, like I can play a full U23 instead of doing Champ if I wanted to. So what's funny is Jono, what you're saying, Petrovic has been insane this season. So he was actually this is when I was looking to get him. And I was like, man, I just can't put up with this all season. It's just not even worth it. He was super cheap too. And then, because I didn't buy him, he just went on to smash his face off. But like looking at his in-season cards, because those are the ones that I would have bought. So I was looking kind of in November, December. Like he got down. Whoops. Sorry. He got so cheap. This is actually quite depressing. He got down to $64. Oh my God. And now he's 150, or last sale was 150. What's the floor? So 150 is the floor right now, 160 instant buy. If I had like $100 market credit, I would probably just spend it on Petrovic. Man, yeah, I blew that one. But yeah, so the idea is like I'll play Champ next year and Champ Classic next year with some of these guys, and I think I'll rebuy. And the thing that I was really considering was, what's going on with Davidashvili? He's hurt. Lower leg. Oh, that's Stassen. That's even worse. Anyway, the thing that I was considering this morning while thinking about talking about this is I obviously played this in rare. I play MLS in season limited. I play MLB in season limited. I play contender in season limited. I do play rare a little bit, but for some reason, I'm much more confident that I can make my money back in rare champ in season next year than I am limited. And I think the the simple reason is that because champ is so popular, a lot of people play there, and so you need to be perfect, it feels like, in limited to grind your way back. Now again, when we look at how much I've won, like I've only won $770 in cash rewards. Now, I didn't start until, really, well, let's see. Game week 21 was the first time, but like game week 39, what was the date of this one? It was end of December. Yeah, like December 31st. So maybe had I started all the way at the beginning of the season, I would have won more. Obviously, those cards cost a lot more. Like, well, Andre Santos might not have. I bet he was dirt cheap at the beginning of the season. I'm also not sophisticated enough to find a player like Santos right away. But like Santos's first cards were, $70 isn't nothing. This guy got a steal, 50, and I spent 186 on the secondary market, no less. But it just feels like the price difference between rare and limited isn't as huge as the corresponding fewer number of entrants. So like Andre Santos limited right now is $33, got up to as high as 79. So $33 versus, $100 more in rare. And he got up to as high as 340. Wow. And I know that the overall prizes are not all that different. So like looking at the current game week, I have no idea how to find here we go. Leaderboards, right. So we know that the top prizes aren't drastically different. I mean, I know they're different, but so where did champ go? Bundesliga, Liga, Prem, Special. Wow, they put champ below MLS. Here we go. So like champ Division 1 is $1,500 in season. And it's double the price, double the reward in rare. But where does it show how many entrants there are? I mean, this is 800. So 800 was that 419th? Yeah, so 838 people in Division 1 champ in season, or excuse me, rare. And basically 5,600, 4,600, 4,700 in limited. And limited top 650 wins $7. And top 130 win $50. And like again, we know that the rare prizes are higher, but you just have to beat so many more people in limited, and it just feels like you're just slowly chipping away $7 at a time, $12, and I'm just more confident that at the rare price point, I can make that back again, having not actually done it. But I'm more confident that I can do it in rare than I am in limited. And it's actually made me think a lot about the other competitions. Challenger, I'm just not a challenger guy. It's as simple as that. Love me some Midtjylland, but after that, I just having to figure out the next, Jarny Stoikers or Haspelat. I get it. I get why people love it. Maybe it's just not for me. And in contender, like I play rare and I've been more successful in rare than I have in limited. And I know that not everybody has the budget to play it, but I kind of do. And so maybe champ in season rare and contender, maybe contender, I don't even know, is what I'll play next year. And obviously I'll play classic of everything because I have to, because they're there. And who knows if they'll do the arena full time. But I think just the way that I like after this full season of in season versus classic, the champ stuff looks a lot more attractive to me, both from a reward standpoint and a player acquisition standpoint. That there are still guys like Andres Santos that you can find cheap that can help you. I think guys like Davidashvili and Gaitan Perrin, if you and I didn't even really do that much work, honestly, but in fact, that was the laziest thing to do. Find some set piece takers and just do it. And I do the thing that I'm struggling with in terms of accounting for all of this is I fully believe that collection bonuses matter, and they matter when maybe one time I won. I mean, actually, we could just look like, and now everybody has collection bonuses, but let's go to like my biggest one. Did I say 150? Yeah. So in this lineup, I won $150 and gained 126 points from bonuses, which I can't click on. Why can't I click on that? I thought you could click on that to see all your bonuses. No? Sorry, I got to shrink my that. Come on, Sorare. That was supposed to be really cool that oh, here we go. It's up here. Anyway, so come on. There we go. So this merit, like an extra 2% or 2 points. Juan Jesus, 1.1, 1.7, 3.6 extra points for Santos. I probably have nothing from Cherky. Yeah, 0, because that's a tough collection to build. And Savigny is only 0.5. But so what is that? 0.5, 4.1, 5.8, 7. So 7 extra points. Sorry, 8 extra points in this lineup, and just from collection bonuses. You know, had I finished 8 points fewer, I don't even know where I finish. 20th. Yeah, so I finished 17th, and 20th is the last cash spot. Is that right? No, that can't be right. Here we go. So it was 8 points. So without collection bonus, I score 481, right? Which pushed me down here, which makes me lose $50. Like, so how much, so again, you go back to the Strasbourg collection, and there you go. Because I had this collection. Now, granted, I didn't have 5% at the time. I think I only had 4%. But those points allowed me to get $150 instead of $50. And like, those are the things that I consider. And some of the other things I was thinking about, when I was going back on all of these game weeks, I literally went game week to game week. And it's like, some of them are like game weeks where I maybe bought a player and they helped me get promoted. And so like the next week, that lineup is more powerful, or it helped me win a box. And in the box, I got essence, and the essence allowed me to craft one of these cards, the Luis Diaz card that I eventually sold for $100. And so the biggest thing that I was kind of coming across with all of this is, obviously there are plenty of ways that you can justify your purchases on Sorare, right? So I'm looking at that every Strasbourg card I bought, and I thought, yes, those help that Andres Santos card get 2 extra points, which combined with the other collection bonuses from the Napoli guys got me an extra $50. And you can't account for stuff like that, which is why I don't think it's necessary to, account on a team by team basis, or excuse me, a card by card basis, because most of these Strasbourg cards I don't use at all. Like I use so of all of the Strasbourg cards I bought, Santos has been in 5 winning lineups, Bakwa's been in 1, and this Gueladue has been in 2. All of these. So you just look at this and you say, all right, I spent $77 on XP, on bonus, basically. Oh, and this SAR. $90. And I theoretically made maybe 50 of that back on that one lineup, not to mention like the other ones that I had. Or they helped me get a box that got me XP that helped the lineup. And I just started like going down this rabbit hole of obviously you can't just look at the cash rewards because a collection bonus helping you get promoted is really important. Or even, and I think it was Andreas who brought this up previously to me. Not only you don't not only think about the the XP or the collection bonus that got you an extra reward, but sometimes it helped you avoid relegation. And then the next week you were still in Division 1 and that's when you hit it. And so all of those things go into it. And so I was perfectly comfortable with what I spent on Strasbourg because the those cards kind of played a big part in what I did. Scosmo, thanks for coming in. I'd wonder what your ROI would look like cut into periods over the year. If you bought early, you paid a lot more. There will probably be an optimum time to buy versus remaining utility and fixture difficulty. Yeah. So Scosmo, I basically bought in December, and it wasn't. I did buy in a little bit before that, but excuse me, November. Like if you look back, I had like a couple cards in October, which I won in game week 21. I don't remember when 21 was. Oops. There we go. So 21, oh, it was the end of October. Okay. So I bought these cards. They basically paid off immediately. And then I started to buy a couple cards. Oh, let me go into this O'Perry card. So this guy took set pieces. Scosmo, I think, used to have his unique. So he was like doing really well and then got a transfer and then came back. Came back because he transferred to Bashakir, whatever. And he like had these two huge games. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't play him in either of these matches because like I wasn't going to play him away to Besiktas. And here I didn't. I mean, when you see these scores doing your challenger lineups, you're like, I'm not going to throw him in. He did this. And I was like, piques your attention a little bit, but then it's like, oh, way to Besiktas. I'm not going to play him again. He smashes that one. And then you're like, oh, he's home against Gaziantep, which is where Alexandru Maxim plays. That team is absolutely garbage. And he gets a minus 13 AA. And then he's been absolutely horrible since. So anyway, that's why I have that O'Perry card. Yeah, good old O'Perry. So so it was basically not until I'm considering when I got basically the second Davidashvili, my Teji Savigny's and Merritt. And that, like this is when I said I consider when I started playing. And so this was, the mid-January, mid-November, but it wasn't until the end of December that I finally won. Like it took me an entire month to cash once. Now, part of that obviously was moving up. So this is what, December 31st. Yeah. Part of that was just moving up from Division 3 because I hadn't played in Season Champ to, well, I guess I had played a little bit. Actually, I guess we could see. I didn't mean to close that out. What division was I in? I assume I was in Division 1 here. Champ D1. Yeah. So obviously working my way up to Division 1 and then being able to actually get a cash reward when I was there is really important. And there's just a lot that goes into that over time. And so when I was going game week to game week, I was like, oh yeah, I won boxes here. What did I, you can't go back and see what you won in a box, but it makes you realize kind of everything that you accumulate, even when you're not winning cash rewards, do contribute. Because maybe you end up crafting a card from a collection and that puts you over the next threshold for a higher percentage on your bonus. And we kind of forget that those things do matter because there's no, we can see it now, but nobody really looks to say, oh, I had an extra bonus on this card like this. I don't know why. Oh, this merit card. Yeah. So like 2 extra points there. 1.8 from Di Lorenzo. I don't know why the collection bonus would be. Oh, because it was based on the total score. Esposito had nothing at the time. I probably was like, oh man, I should build around Esposito, which was obviously dumb. But like those things matter. And again, when we have game weeks where we're like, oh, I only want an XP or I only want a couple essence, it does end up helping you. And I'm just as guilty as everyone else who kind of gets upset when you win stuff like that because it just doesn't feel like you're winning anything. And going through your results and saying, oh, all right, well, I won $100 this game week. Actually, let's go back because maybe, had I just had more XP or had I just done whatever, maybe you win more. And so let's see here. Top 20, 447. Yeah, I was pretty far away from that one. But also, like, I could have dropped. I was 43rd here, and only the top 50 win cash. And so I was able to win $100 here thanks to what I think are some bonuses. Davidashvili 1.4, 1.8, 3.4, 4, 6.2, 5 extra points from this lineup just from collection bonuses. And again, people want to like crap on collection bonuses, but you need, like, if you can find a way to score more points than somebody else, you do it. And this is how I've been doing it. So Skazma, to kind of address what you said, I started at the end of November, mid-November, and since then, those are my returns. But you didn't see the beginning. So there's some excellent spreadsheet content earlier on if you want to go back. Andre said the early price this year was not very high for a lot of champ cards. I would argue buying at the start would be beat this season. I would be best, this season. Yeah, I think Andreas might be right. And I don't know if the theory is enough to get me to buy in right away. I think what I'm going to do is look to see what basically what I paid this season to next season, and if I can get some other guys. But again, the reason why I tend not to buy early when I'm kind of out of my element here, and maybe, I'll just rely on more people doing the research for me. But like, I started just with set piece takers, and like Andre Santos doesn't even take set pieces. It was Bakwa and Nanasi for a while. And so maybe Due started taking set pieces briefly, and maybe that's why I bought him. I don't know. But the way that I will play, I think, is just, how much is it going to cost to put a couple teams together? And I don't know if I'll do 3 teams right away or not, but like, I very few times this season had 3 active in-season lineups going, and I never cashed in all 3. I cashed twice once, maybe twice. I mean, I guess we could go look. Hold on. There was one game week. Yeah. So this game week, I won $100 in one lineup and $50 in another. Let's see. So that was the Stas and Davidashvili combo that we all know and love. Game week 62. So I had two Division Ones. One won 100 and one won 50. That was with Leno and Merritt, and then Providel 17 points short of a reward. He looks like he lost 5-0. Sheesh. And then there was another game week I won 50 and 30. So it doesn't happen often for me, but I also don't have, like, I know there were a couple game weeks where Leno, the Prem was off, and so I couldn't play Leno, and then Providel got benched. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to stick to, I was either going to stick to only Ligue 1 or only Serie A, but I decided to kind of do both. But the more leagues that you get players from, the more you're at the mercy of their schedule. And so usually, like, all of Ligue 1 usually plays the same game week, and all of Serie A, and you can say the same thing about Prem and Bundesliga, but just making sure, and this is something that has been spoken about for years on this channel, but you want to make sure that your guys are all playing at the same time. And you don't want guys who are off one week because, like I said, I had enough outfield players for another lineup, but I didn't have another goalie. And so it's like, do I buy another goalie? And then that just adds to the cost of everything. Skazmo said this year's launch will be different. Last year, there was nothing to gauge the right price amongst uncertainty. This year, we compare to last year and wings over the year to what people will pay. Yeah, but Skazmo, the big thing that we don't know is how many people think that they can win that back. If vaulting comes in, then classic card's probably going to have most utility there, boosting your reward amount. Yeah, maybe. Tom Brimson, as with most things, probably best to calculate what you're willing to pay before you see prices. You can make a decision to buy in then, or wait when you see what cards go for. Yeah, I think having a budget certainly makes sense. But I think, we all play Sorare, and we know that our budget isn't really our budget. It's just maybe 80% of our budget. Max bids are never really max bids. But yeah, I like Champ. I like how I played Champ. I'll put it that way. I enjoyed being able to have guys that, I mean, everybody had, it's not like I'm the only person with Andre Santos on the platform, but I liked having guys like that. And it felt like I was doing more of the scouting that I used to do, but it just happened to be in Champ. And that's how I got guys like Gaitan Perrin. I mean, I only knew of Perrin because I did an auctioneer collection last season in limited and paid that off. And he still plays for them. And what's his first name? Gaultier Hein was on that team, and they took set pieces. And so that's where I looked. And Davidashvili the same. Like I have a Saint Etienne collection now, which is hilarious because they're so bad. But there are players that I like. I like finding those kinds of players. I don't necessarily want to just play the chalk, which is funny because I thought about buying a Yamal and a Jude the other day. But I like this concept of doing kind of what I did with Contender, where I feel like, let me look for very good players that maybe just not everyone is excited to get because they're not Jude and they're not, um, Joshua Kimmich, and see if I can play that way. And I'll give Harry Trades tons of credit for this because when he started it, when he did his Nice collection early on and eventually sold out and got Kimmich, but I did the same thing, except I cheaped out and got Çalhanoğlu instead of Jude. And I would have won. I think I would have won a lot more with Jude. And maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll try. I've been actually looking for Jude. I want a realm like a last season Jude. For those of you who may have one, this is the one I want. Not this specific, but like this season. That's what I need because I have, and I almost bought one that went super cheap. I was so upset that I missed it. This one, 288, GG's Dazzler, because I would have paid this easily. But I have like a Modric and a Rodrigo from that collection. And not that I need, doesn't have to be guys from the collection, but again, if I can get this one's at 1%, but if I get a Jude, then it's like, oh, he's already at 1%. And maybe I get a couple other players to get it to 2%, like Alabas, like a Nacho for $1, although I should look at Sorare. Like what would it cost if I did get, so if I got a Jude, that gets me to, just call it 50. So I'd have to buy 5 more players to get to 2%. I know after 90 days, whatever. And if I did it now, then I theoretically could. But like, yeah, I could get a Nacho for $1, Yosalu for $2. So that's 2 of the 5 I need. Let's see. Rudiger's only $9. Like he's he's fine if he plays, Is Mendy staying? I don't even know. But those are the things that I'm thinking about. Is Eder Militão for 22? I know he's broken and all, but just things I'm considering for next season. Sorry, I feel like I talked a lot on this one, and there wasn't a lot of chat. And I think it's because you guys were just kind of listening to me go on and on and on and on and on. But I've really enjoyed this strategy in Champ, and I think I'm going to try it again next season. I don't know if I'll try it with the same exact players again. Like Santos could, and God knows where Santos ends up. If he stays at Chelsea, it's just that's terrible because I just don't see him playing regularly for Chelsea. If he does, then hey, that's great. And maybe I should build out that Strasbourg collection a little bit. If Petrovic does go there, maybe I end up with a Prem Classic lineup, Petrovic and Santos starting that. I don't know. Skazmo, I haven't the super rare strat. I have not. It's just I think the super rares are just too expensive for what I'm comfortable doing, in all honesty. Because super rare contender is the only one I've considered. And it's because I don't think there are that many people who want those cards, but like someone like Pranksy and Jono, they're going to want to buy these these Champ super rares. And while I appreciate that, if I'm not trying to get the same ones as them probably, but I think it's gonna be just too expensive for me. I don't think I can win enough with those cards to justify the cost. Like what's a not I guess Santos is a bad example, although like what's a Gaitan Perrin? What did Perrin super rare cost over the course of a season? Nothing. Nobody ever bought one. Yeah, like I'm not going to spend nine. Oh, that's a old one. 170. I hate to say that. I'm like, actually, it's not so bad. Goalie's probably going to be the hard one. Like I'm willing to spend up on a goalie, but the risk of like a super rare goalie injury just is. I think that's too much for me. I don't want to. I don't want to have to build my budget around having to fix. I was going to say fix mistakes like that, but like to account for stuff like that where it's just so much easier and rare, while still allowing me to play for stakes that I think are usable. Classic goalkeeper, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Cassidy and Santos were the two best players at under 21 World Cup 2 years ago. At least Cassidy recently got freed from Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, I would love it if Santos got sold, and like Strasbourg was just a perfect spot for him this season for so rare purposes, which is the only purposes I care about. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's one of those things that I can't, you can't plan now because I don't know what the prices are going to be. And there could be just so much more movement that a player, particularly like Andre Santos, who where he ends up it greatly affects the value and how much I'll be able to extract from that card next season, meaning my card, or if he stays and maybe I'll buy a new one. So that's kind of the bummer about the whole in-season classic thing right now is that I really can't prepare. It's May 5th. I can't prepare at all for next season. Cosmo said it's a lot more restrictive, higher upside with less competition, but the entry cost and liquidity and much more difficult. Yeah, I think the entry cost actually doesn't bother me as much because I understand it, and there are a lot fewer people who participate. The problem is that it feels like the people who do participate are super active and super rich, and so when they each have 3 lineups and I have maybe one, it just feels like a hugely uphill battle. But we'll see. We'll see. But I would be shocked if I played Challenger in season next, like in July, August. And I know when the new Midtjylland cards come out, I'll be like, oh, maybe. But I think I think we're going to play Champ next year. And again, the the fact that I can use all of the cards that I got this year for in season in Classic next year and not have those just join a gigantic pile of cards like I have with Challenger and Contender is interesting to me. But of course, I mean, obviously after next season, then it's like, oh, I have a pile, but I have like 4 and 5 years worth of cards in Challenger and Contender, and I have maybe 1 or 2 in Champ, and God knows what so rare looks like in 4 or 5 years. Halligan said, I'm probably going to go the NEP strat every competition I enter next season. PSG, Betis, Dortmund, if they don't get Champions League, and Man United are the ones I'm eyeing up so far. So that's like buying multiple versions of all those players. PSG sounds very expensive to do that, though, in any scarcity. Like, oh, let me get 4 Hakimis, or 3, I guess. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting strategy for sure. Would you do it across different scarcities too, Halligan, or just limited or just rare? I was about to say, I feel like if you do rare, you may as well do it in limited, but I'm just not sure how viable it is in both. You really only need 2 Hakimis? Why? You get 3 lineups. 6 Hakimis. So yeah, that's what I got. That's what was on my mind today. You guys have any questions or want to push me into any champ players? Feel free to send them along. I totally, I'm listening. I'm not a champ expert too, so I'm not really a challenger or contender expert, but I'll pretend at least for next season so that I can, be a champ boy. Be a champ boy. Yeah. So anyway, thank you everybody for coming. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Oh, how dare you, Scosmo? How dare you? Nicola Rovella throwing it in my face again. Anyway, yeah, shout out to Quinny. I don't know if I said the rest of the part. Once again, this episode was sponsored by MFL. If you are interested in joining the Metaverse Football League, I have a link in the description of this video. If you use that referral link and spend at least $25, you'll get a free common card or free common player. And it also helps to help support me and this channel. And if you're really interested in MFL, I have an entire MFL channel on YouTube, MFL with Laird. Sounds like Sorare with Laird, but it's just MFL. It's very similar. And if you love all the content and you're just like, man, I'd love to support this, patreon.com/Andrew M. Laird is the best place to do that. I think I'm going to give away one of the collections this week to any active paid member. So if you are unaware of this, if you are a supporter, OG, and legend tier member, I will enter you in a raffle for one of 2 Challenger in-season collections. I know the season's running out, but it's the 2 left are Ghent and Sparta Rotterdam. So if you were ever at a point where you're like, I wonder if I should become a member of Laird's Patreon community, now is the best time so you can get in on this raffle, and I'll be giving away hopefully 40 cards, but it'll be at least somewhere in, I think each one is like 21 or 20 or 21 cards. And yeah, so we'll do that. So anyway, thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy your Monday and don't forget to go outside.